You're standing in a misty Scottish highland. The year is 300 BC. The ground trembles beneath your feet as a painted warrior emerges from the fog, wielding weapons that would make your blood freeze. This isn't a movie. This isn't fantasy. You think you're tough because you hit the gym 3 times a week. You think your martial arts classes prepared you for combat. You think modern humans are somehow superior to ancient peoples. You're about to discover just how catastrophically wrong you are about what true warriors were capable of. The average Celtic warrior would demolish you so completely that your ancestors would feel the embarrassment echoing through time. We're talking about fighters who could split you in half with a single sword stroke while laughing at your pathetic attempts at defense. Let me paint you the real picture of what these warriors were actually like. Because everything you think you know about ancient Celtic fighters is probably wrong. The reality is far more terrifying than anything Hollywood ever dared to show you. The Celts dominated Europe from Ireland to Turkey for over 800 years, from roughly 1200 BC to 400 AD. These weren't primitive barbarians stumbling around with sticks. Archaeological evidence from sites like Latane in Switzerland and Hallstatt in Austria reveals a sophisticated warrior culture that produced some of the most advanced metallurgy and weaponry the ancient world had ever seen. At age 7, Celtic boys began their warrior training, not playing video games, not learning to read, learning to kill. By age 14, they could wield a longsword that weighed 4 pounds like it was an extension of their arm. Contemporary Roman accounts describe Celtic warriors performing feats that modern soldiers would consider physically impossible. Take Vercingetorix, the Gallic chieftain who united the Celtic tribes against Julius Caesar in 52 BC. This man could fight continuously for 12 hours straight, wielding a sword that was 5 feet long and weighing 6 pounds. Roman historians recorded that he once killed 17 legionnaires in single combat without taking a single wound. The Romans, who conquered most of the known world, were genuinely terrified of Celtic warriors. Studies of Celtic skeletal remains show bone density measurements that are 2.3 times higher than modern athletes. Their muscle attachment points indicate grip strength that would crush a modern powerlifter's hand. Analysis of weapon wear patterns on excavated Celtic swords shows these warriors were swinging weapons weighing 8 to 12 pounds with the speed and precision of a modern fencer using a lightweight foil. But here's where it gets truly insane. Celtic warriors didn't just fight, they fought naked. Not because they were crazy, because they were so absolutely confident in their skills. That armor was unnecessary weight. They painted themselves with woad, a blue dye that also acted as a mild stimulant and antiseptic for wounds. They braided their hair with lime to make it stand upright like spikes. They weren't trying to look intimidating. They were psychological warfare experts who understood that fear could win battles before the first blow was struck. The archaeological record reveals Celtic swords that were folded and refolded up to 60 times during forging. This created blades harder than modern steel, with edges so sharp they could slice through Roman chainmail like tissue paper. Metallurgical analysis shows carbon content precisely controlled to create weapons that were simultaneously flexible and harder than anything European smiths would produce again until the Renaissance. Celtic shields weren't just defensive tools. They were weapons, made from oak planks 2 inches thick, reinforced with iron bosses, and weighing 30 pounds. A Celtic warrior could use his shield to crush bones, while simultaneously blocking attacks with reflexes trained from childhood. Roman military manuals specifically warned legionnaires about the devastating shield techniques Celtic warriors employed. Everything you think you know about Celtic warfare from movies is wrong. They weren't wild, undisciplined berserkers. Celtic military formations were so sophisticated that they influenced Roman tactical development for centuries. They used coordinated cavalry charges with precise timing. They employed battlefield communications using horn signals that could coordinate movements across miles of terrain. They had logistics systems that could supply armies of 50,000 warriors for months during campaigns. The reality is that a Celtic warrior possessed combat skills that took modern military special forces decades to develop. But they started learning these skills as children. While Roman legionnaires required 6 months of intensive training to become combat-ready, Celtic boys were already lethal fighters by the time they reached 15 years old. Consider the Battle of Alea in 390 BC, where 30,000 Celtic warriors completely destroyed a Roman army of equal size in less than 3 hours. Roman accounts describe Celtic fighters moving through their formations like death itself, cutting down trained legionnaires faster than they could react. The psychological impact was so devastating that Rome paid tribute to Celtic tribes for the next several decades. But here's what makes this truly terrifying for any modern person. Celtic warriors weren't just physically superior. They were mentally conditioned for violence in ways that would break modern minds instantly. They grew up in a culture where personal honor was literally more important than life itself. They practiced ritual combat from childhood. They celebrated scars as badges of honor. They composed poetry about the beauty of warfare while sharpening weapons that could decapitate a horse. The Druids, Celtic priest class, taught warriors meditation, techniques that allowed them to fight in altered states of consciousness. These weren't mystical fantasies. Archaeological evidence suggests Celtic warriors used breathing techniques and mental conditioning that modern sports psychologists are only beginning to understand. They could literally shut off pain receptors and fight with wounds that would incapacitate modern soldiers. Celtic longswords measured between 3 and 4 feet in length, weighing 4 to 6 pounds, perfectly balanced for devastating cuts and thrusts. The blade geometry created weapons that could generate cutting forces exceeding 800 pounds per square inch at the point of impact. Forensic analysis of battle damage on excavated Celtic weapons shows edge retention that would impress modern knife manufacturers. Their spears weren't throwing sticks. Celtic warriors used hasta that measured 8 to 10 feet long, with iron points weighing 3 pounds. These weapons could punch through Roman armor at distances of 30 feet. The ash wood shafts were seasoned for 7 years and reinforced with iron bands. A Celtic warrior could throw one of these spears with enough force to pin an armored man to a tree trunk. Celtic war chariots were precision instruments of destruction. 2 horse vehicles weighing 800 pounds, capable of speeds reaching 30 miles per hour across rough terrain. The warrior would stand on a platform 18 inches wide, maintaining perfect balance while hurling spears and swinging swords at full gallop. This required core strength and coordination that would challenge modern Olympic gymnasts. You wouldn't last 30 seconds against a Celtic warrior. Not 30 minutes, 30 seconds. While you're fumbling for your phone, to call for help, he'd already evaluated your stance, identified your weaknesses, and calculated exactly how to kill you with minimum effort. Your modern fitness routine that focuses on beach muscles would be useless against someone whose entire existence revolved around perfecting the art of human destruction. Celtic warriors could march 25 miles per day carrying 60 pounds of equipment, then fight a pitched battle that lasted from dawn to dusk, then march another 10 miles to the next battlefield. Your cardiovascular fitness from running on a treadmill while watching Netflix wouldn't prepare you for combat that required explosive power generation for hours at a time. The hand-to-hand combat techniques Celtic warriors mastered would destroy any modern martial art. They weren't learning sport fighting with rules and regulations. They were learning how to kill armed opponents who were also trying to kill them. Every technique was designed for maximum lethality with minimum risk. There were no timeouts, no referees, no tapping out, just survive or die. Celtic warriors developed grip strength that could crush throats with bare hands. They could grab a sword blade during combat and wrench it from an opponent's grasp without cutting themselves. They practiced grappling techniques while wearing armor, weighing 40 pounds. Their understanding of human anatomy focused entirely on how to destroy it most efficiently. Think about this. Everything that makes you feel secure in modern life would be completely irrelevant against a Celtic warrior. Your car wouldn't help. Your technology wouldn't save you. Your legal system couldn't protect you. You'd be facing someone whose entire culture was built around the principle that personal combat skill determined who lived and who died. So the next time you're feeling confident about your place in the modern world, remember this. You're the product of a civilization that has been safe for so long that you've forgotten what real danger looks like. Celtic warriors lived in that danger every single day for their entire lives. And they didn't just survive it, they mastered it completely. They became legends that still make trained soldiers uncomfortable when they read the historical accounts of what these ancient fighters could accomplish with nothing but iron muscle and an unbreakable will to dominate.